Alright, what's up people? Today we're going to talk about what's going on with Bobby Lashley. And I'm probably going to delve into some Roman Reigns and the whole Universal Championship picture, but most of that's been talked to death, so I'm going to try and focus on Bobby here. So just to backtrack a little bit here, Bobby came back about 3 months or so ago now, and it was quite a big deal when he was announced to be returning, because it was quite a big star back in the day. United States Champion, ECW Champion, had that whole thing with Trump at WrestleMania, so I think it's safe to say a lot of us were looking forward to him coming back. But I don't know about you guys, but I was very underwhelmed when he returned. I think part of that was because of that generic entrance music he was coming out with, which has since been updated, to be fair, it's a lot better now. But it also seemed like he was being thrown into these just nothing tag matches almost immediately. And he was involved with people who already had storylines going on, so he was just kind of there. And they didn't take the time to reintroduce him, because a lot of the fan base, especially the younger fans, probably have no idea who Bobby Lashley is. So they just kind of threw him into the mix without really establishing who he was or why he was back. And another thing was, he didn't really have a finisher. All he really did was that delayed suplex thing, which is a cool move and it fits him, he's a big strong guy, it's cool. But at the end of the day, it's just a suplex, it's not a believable finishing move in 2018. You know, back in the day he'd used the Dominator, he'd used the Spear as well, and I think WWE were kind of reluctant to let him use the Spear because of Roman, but of course they have since let him start using the Spear again, which is great because he does one hell of a spear. So all of the things I'm touching on here have since been improved. And then we had the whole Sami Zayn debacle, and I'm not going to get into that too much, we all know how bad it was. But all those kinds of things just made WWE shoot themselves in the foot with regards to getting people invested in Bobby. Which is a shame, because if booked properly, Bobby Lashley is the kind of guy who, just from looking at him, he could be a viable contender to anyone, including Brock. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but whatever. I actually thought the feud with Roman was really good for getting him back on track and back to where he should be, you know, character-wise. They started letting him use the spear, which by the way, for the most part, Bobby's spear is so much better than Roman's, but that's a different story for a different time. Yeah, they stopped doing the, I don't want to say comedy, because it wasn't funny, but the stuff they were doing with Zayn, where he's just smiling all the time. And yeah, obviously when you're in a feud with Roman, you're going to be sort of in the main event or positioned near the main event, so it gave him more time to establish his character again. And his mic work has improved since he was last here. It's still not great, but that's fine because that's not where the focus should be anyway. The focus should be on his in-ring work, his intensity, his size, all the stuff that's going to make you look at him and say, yeah, that guy could be a credible challenger for Brock. But credit to WWE, I feel like that's what they started to do with him in the limited time they had leading up to Extreme Rules. And of course, this thing was kind of booked like it was probably going to be the main event of Extreme Rules, and I think most of us probably thought it was going to be. And to be honest, it was a nice surprise when the Iron match closed the show, but again, different story. But they built this thing going in like it had huge implications for not only SummerSlam, but just the next challenger for Brock Lesnar's Universal title. So one would think, because Brock wasn't on the show defending, that this match would establish who his next challenger is going to be, right? Because you have to have something on the show that relates to the biggest title in the company. If it's not going to be defended, you've got to at least have a #1 contenders match. Now, safe to say, most of us are sick of seeing Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at this point. It's happened a lot, most of it's been a bit and it's time for a change. If Brock isn't going to drop the title, at least give us some fresh matchups. So, going into this Bobby Lashley Roman Reigns match, I fully wanted Bobby to win, but I also kind of expected Reigns to win because I think that's just the way I've been conditioned by WWE. But lo and behold, I was wrong. Bobby walks out with the win. Great. So that means we've got a new #1 contender, right, for SummerSlam? Nope! I think you'll find that match meant absolutely nothing. Because WWE then decides to add 2 triple threat matches to Raw, with the respective winners facing each other the week after, to then determine who the #1 contender is going to be. Now, as we all know, Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns won those matches, So we ended up getting a rematch this week on Raw from Extreme Rules. Only this time, the winner faces Brock. So how is this match any different to the Extreme Rules match? You're basically telling us that match at Extreme Rules meant nothing, despite the fact that the entire build was focused around who was going to face Brock for the Universal title. And Bobby Lashley somehow has no issue with this. He's already beaten Roman, and now he's got to beat him again. Fast forward to Raw. Roman Reigns beats Bobby Lashley clean. So Roman Reigns is going to face Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Why? Why? They're one apiece now. If anything, they have some kind of rubber match to determine who faces Brock. Now, do I want to see that? No. But this doesn't make any sense. Why would a Raw match mean more than a pay-per-view match in terms of who's #1 contender? You know, I was really looking forward to Bobby versus Brock at SummerSlam. Maybe that's why I'm so hot about this. But I figured, okay, they're doing the rematch with Reigns and Bobby. But surely they wouldn't have Reigns win, because then, well, what was the point in giving Bobby the win at Extreme Rules in the first place? So surely Bobby's going over somehow. And then it doesn't happen. So there was literally no point to any of it. It's like back in the day when, say back in the day, like 3 years ago, when John Cena would, it's like the Cena syndrome. If someone would miraculously beat John Cena, he had to get his win back at like 2 consecutive pay-per-views after that. So whatever momentum that person had from beating Cena is just immediately killed. And that's essentially what happens with Roman these days. And Bobby Lashley v Brock would have been really cool and fresh, and fine, maybe you don't want to give him the chance yet, he's not been back long. Okay, give the win to Roman if you have to, but have him win at Extreme Rules, not Raw. Have the pay-per-view matches mean something. Then you could have had an extra 2 weeks of build towards SummerSlam. It doesn't make sense, and it's not interesting. And the thing is, even if Roman finally beats Brock, it's not going to be this big moment where it's like, oh my god, Roman Reigns conquered the Conqueror. Who cares? Roman lost to Brock like 4 times. If you put him in there enough, chances are he's going to win one. I know I sound mad. And it's because I am! But here's the thing. It's not like this is coming from a place of blind Roman Reigns hate. I don't hate Roman Reigns, I actually like Roman Reigns. And it's not like Bobby Lashley is my favourite wrestler either. It has nothing to do with favouritism. It's all to do with the booking. And yeah, okay, they could try to fix it. Bobby could come out next week and complain about not being in the match and how he has a legitimate gripe. And they could make it a triple threat or something, but there's an issue with that. And do you want to know the biggest problem I have with this whole thing? Bobby Lashley shook Roman Reigns' hand after the match. He shook his hand! Why would Bobby shake his hand after the match? Roman never shook Bobby's hand when he lost to him at Extreme Rules. And it's even worse for Bobby because he's already beaten Roman, so he should already be in that Universal title match. He's essentially saying, hey man, I know we're one apiece now and technically I beat you first, so I should be getting the title match, and you've had like 5 shots already throughout the year, but you're the big dog, it's all good, I respect you, you go get him, I'll just sit in the back and wait for my turn. If WWE was so intent on giving the title to Roman, they would have done it by now. And I don't think the fans at this point care either way whether he wins or not. They just want this whole thing with Brock to be over. You know, Brock hardly ever appears as it is, and when he does, it's always against Roman. Think back to the match he had with AJ Styles last year. It was an awesome match. And that's the kind of stuff you want to see when he does show up, with new opponents and potential dream matches. We probably don't have that much time left of seeing Brock Lesnar in WWE. So for the limited time that we do have, I want to see him in there with people we haven't seen him in there with before. And Bobby Lashley could have been one of those guys. And maybe he still will be, but SummerSlam would have been the time. Okay. I'm gonna give myself an aneurysm, so I don't know what compelled me to make this video. I know I don't make these kinds of things. But if you're still there, drop me a comment down below and let me know that you sat through 10 minutes of me talking shit. Thanks guys, see you next time.